Good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Rao opening my room, 6 o'clock room that I was doing on Be Your Real Self, right? And I have been discussing habits of happiness, indices of happiness, and now today, what is that culmination of experience in human life, inner, internally, that is really given an exalted status in ancient wisdom, you know. So this is uh, pretty interesting for people who have engaged in uh, self-inquiry, quest of finding who they are internally, inwardly. So that kind of people who have interest in that, uh, they have explored this, and the ultimate result of that is you kind of transgress or transcend the so-called suffering in human life. Okay, that is the best thing about it. Okay, so we're going to take a historical perspective at what they were doing, how they were doing, and why somebody like me, who is a modern person, was really enamored by the possibility of this. Okay, this is kind of epitome of yogic lifestyle, and at the end of it, uh, they termed a term called kaivalya. That is the only state that you merged in, right? And that is the culmination of experiential knowledge, of taking a quest within yourself and finding. Okay, and that's beyond that, there are states of nothing else, right? So you just be one with everything, and that way you don't have the same type of mentality, personality, to feel bad about small things, and then to really uh, get into attractions, and then distractions, and then the opposite of pain and pleasure. All those things you will be kind of devoid and detached, and thereby you really immerse yourself in the um, inner joy, and then you stay there. Okay, so that's kind of thing you want to understand. Okay, so once again, for those people on the clubhouse, good evening. I'm Dr. Kulsu, Dr. Rao Kulsu. I'm an internal medicine doctor, and also a master's in biomedical informatics. I work with EMRs and big data and all that. Um, Recently, I kind of embraced AI as a tool, right? So which is helping me a lot with my time allocation and all that, you know. But I also come on these rooms and speak my mind and share what I know, what I have come across, what I understood from the ancient wisdom, with the hope that wisdom penetrates your life and gives you some hacks to deal with the modern stresses. Okay, we talked about so a lot of things. We talked about simple pillars of wellness, and we talked about stress and burnout. We talked about insomnia, grief reaction, relationship problems. You name it, we talked about it. If you want, you can go and look at my old room, which is Dr. Rao's BA PAL. Now we converted into BA PAL. I also have another house called Docs and Burnout, because I work with doctors who are burning out, and then help them to overcome that, or recover from that, or prevent it. Either way, right? So my point is, modern lifestyles that are producing the stress and burnout, we don't have to take it them, hands down. There are ways that we can find out within ourselves, by self inquiry, self knowledge, and really work on these problems in a way that is very cheap and best, I think, and also is much more holistic and not involved taking any medications or taking any injections or surgeries and all that. They may be needed for the physical organism, but I'm talking about having this understanding of the life through the perspective of the ancients and bringing the lot of hacks from that wisdom into our modern life. For example, I kind of led a very simple life. I don't really sit down and then do stuff only sitting down. I may sit down when I'm sitting on a talk like this. But mostly I'm up and about, and then being as much as mobile. So that is, the mobility is very, very important for the body, right? And that's what they did. They traveled from forest to forest, city to from city, village from village. Even my own grandfather, he was 106 or so when he died, right? But when he was in 90s, he used to climb up the stairs and come upstairs. We were living in the upstairs, right? There were steep hill, steep staircase that he used to climb and come. So he was kind of very strong man. And the reason was, when he was young, he was working as a district munsif. That was a big post at the time, like a governor or something. But he had to visit so many villages, like 100 villages, right? And he used to walk from village to village on business. So that walking really helped him because he did several years of the job, right? And then British thing changed and Indian government came, and those kind of things kind of changed the structure, right? Then he became something else. Then he retired. I knew him when he was retired, and he was really old. But then he told me that how he used to walk so much, and how he used to eat really uh, not processed food, but really unprocessed, really original organic food, and that's why he was very strong. Okay, so keeping mobile is something that they practiced because they never had these creature comforts that we have, and we kind of enslaved ourselves to it. Okay, we kind of have soft cushions, chairs, and sofas, and in the car, and also here. And then we um, kind of take elevators. We kind of ride cars or buses or trains. So it is a long distance fine, but then sometimes it is a short distance. Also, people use the car to go to the neighbor market and all that, right? So that kind of creature comforts make the body get more comfortable in its own immobility, and you don't want to do this. So that's what I'm talking about. Taking some hacks from their lifestyles and putting them within us, within our lifestyle, and then following it will do a lot of dividends in that. Okay, that's what I wanted to understand, and then really go from there. Okay, so that is one thing I wanted to bring to your notice. That's a simple thing, but if you go deeper within yourself, understand what your thinking is, what your emotions are, when these and where these emotions and thoughts are happening, and what is that consciousness, and how do you touch it, how do you go deeper and do really touch the ultimate consciousness, which is pure consciousness that gives you reflected consciousness, and that reflected consciousness shines on the brain, and then you have all these thoughts, and everything comes from there, right? But if you can go back to where you are really in there, in the conscious being, then the whole thing changes for you, right? So that's what I'm talking about. The culmination of experience is to taking a inward journey not being just uh, kind of self-centered. No, not that. It's more like a looking at the thoughts where they're coming, how they have taken the shape they have, and how they have so much sway on you, and how do these emotions drag you down or lift you up by somebody saying a word or looking at you in a way, and immediately you kind of allow this uh, reflections bring you a lot of impressions, and you continue to feel bad about it or good about it. So how is that you are under the sway of these things? All these internal matters you would be able to understand and really be a witness or whatever is happening to you, and then change everything. Hi, Ivy. Welcome. So it's all a question of introspection, not in a way like you are doing something um, like a self-centeredness. It's not that. It is more like a um, doing things in a way that are meaningful to you, that are understandable to you, and then you kind of take that assessment, not like an intellectual, but more like a real insight into how what your inner makeup was. So that resulted in going deeper and deeper, where you get in touch with your consciousness, and then staying with that, and then keeping the mind completely still. That is the kaivalya they talked about. This is a culmination of all experience, and that is possible for human beings because you can be inward bound. You can have the self inquiry. You can have knowledge about yourself by exploring within yourself, right? So that's really a very advanced way of inner exploration of the ancient cultures. They were there like that. So there was a lot of documentation, a lot of history about that. It's all up to you to find out by yourself. But ultimately, it becomes more like a uh, what it is, more like a uh, um, your own first-hand experience, not given to you by somebody, but you yourself will know about that. And then out of that, your mind will be quiet and serene and peaceful. But that's not that simple. Don't mistake me, because it's come something just I'm showing you what could be that the ultimate experience of yourself, and then how that is the peace and consciousness and happiness and everything rolled into one. So you can really feel blissful when you touch that, even for a few moments. But then that requires a lot of inquiry into yourself, lot of silencing, and then observing things and not reacting to stuff that easily, and but then kind of take a panoramic view of what is going on in the life as a whole, and then in your life. Okay, that's what I wanted to indicate. But then more discussion can be done if people have individual experience themselves, and then we can explore it together. Okay, so there are people on the wisdom also. You are also welcome to come up and talk if you want to. So let's see who are there. Okay, Yusuf is there, and wondering, he's also there too. All right. So I just opened it. I think Sanya and all these people are coming a little later. So I will wait for them for a while. See, what happened was I was talking about habits for happiness, and what are the indices that tell you that you're happy with them. Then this whole discussion about inwardness came, self inquiry came. This is not about discussing or presenting some information articles. No, this is about inviting people to take a journey within themselves, in their own inner nature, and then relate that experience, not what they read, what they, no, not that. This inner exploration of oneself, you can have your own way of looking at it, right? Your own way of whatever. It's not about history. It's not about something happened in the past. It is about what you find out about yourself, like your inner thoughts and feelings and reactions and all those things. It is the mechanism by which they are happening that you have to observe, and then you learn a lot about what is going on. You know, in a way that leads to utter tranquility, complete silence. Instead of getting into those thoughts and taking a ride, you will be able to really look at it and from kind of witness perspective, and then you could see a lot of things are desperations, a lot of tensions, a lot of negative thoughts, and all those things you can see, and then they won't take off and go wherever they want to. They take you. Rather, you will be looking at it. The flow will either stand still or they slow down. Okay, that is the thing about it. Basically, all these investigations result in no suffering or less suffering, okay, depending on the quality of your inquiry and how much you allow your cognitive self to be silent, and then really go into your intuition and then feel these things. Okay, so this is a what's called. I developed a kind of outline for this kind of thing where somebody wants to do that, but it's not like a instructions about things you can do. It's about talking about a path that some people take it, and then you could try your own way, and you don't have to tell anybody that, but you can just do that. Even at the least, if you do this kind of habit of self inward journey, you, for a few minutes, either in the morning, in the evening, without making a comment about what comes up, or without identifying with it, or without repressing. So if you allow it to flower, like comes up and then shows its color and then goes down. So if you can do that, then you will have a good way of insights into your own real self, and that is very beneficial. That's all I can say. But then what you do, how you undertake, is all up to you. Okay, calm your mind down and undertake this inward journey of what is happening. So it's very difficult for people to do that because they can't even, stay silent. They have to have some discussion, some kind of thing, right? But if you can make a habit of doing this early in the morning and also later at the night, I think that will be very beneficial, especially in this day and age where we are bombarded with so much of data, information, pieces of information, pictures. So many things come at us, right? That is the way the culture has grown, which is not really bad in the sense, but if you allow it to dominate you without allowing your mind to quieten and rest and really recover or experience the blisses that you have within you, that's a shame. Okay, so, and then there are other problems of people get burnout, people get stressed out, people are having a lot of problems. So they do come and talk to me about it, and that's where we get to take this journey. But then I don't take the journey for them. They kind of do it on their own. That is the first-hand experience of this. Hi, Kanan, how are you? I'm good. No problem. I was talking for the last 30 minutes or so, where I was presenting about this highest experience on your inward journey. You know,
Yeah, it's always nice to hear you. So I'm not so deep into it, but always
Yeah.
to hear you. So I'm always in listening mode.
Yeah. No, participate and share with whatever you think about this, whatever comes to your mind, and what is your experience. Kind of thing is nice, right? But then you can explore together. You know, you can listen. That's good quality too. But then uh, I'm a student of ancient wisdom, so I kind of learn a lot of things, and then I kind of share with them. But then the advantage is the ills of modern life, you can be away from that, you know loneliness, or feeling like we're lost, or uh, not really experiencing the joy of things that we encounter every day. Those things are away when you really take a deeper dive into yourself. Those things go down, and then life can be very, very joyful. Life can be very giving, and in the giving, you could be very happy too. You can discover that. So many good things happen because of the insights into ancient wisdom. For me, at least, that's what I'm saying. So it's a question of taking them in the right perspective. You don't have to belong to a particular religion or hang on to this, say this is the only correct thing. Then everything opens, every religion, every wisdom path opens, and then you could enjoy everybody that way. Does that make sense to you, Kanan?
I don't know. I always felt that you be true to yourself and then
Yeah,
don't get attached to anything.
yeah,
But very difficult to practice this, doctor. So
yeah,
you always have emotions
yeah,
running on account of non-achievement or something to do with your relatives,
yeah,
and simply saying that it's a different. We are all different souls, but
yeah.
completely away.
No,
It becomes
exactly.
very difficult. It
Yeah,
causes a lot of stress.
exactly,
And then, of
exactly.
course, if you have meditation, it does relieve it, but then it recurs.
Yeah, that's it. See what it is if you understand a triangular structure, like that makes much easier. Like we have the body, which is inert. We have the mind, which is actually our object, and then we, that conscious self, that is the third one, right? So what we do is we kind of think we are the body, or we are the mind, or what the mind produced, and that's where we get caught. So to come back to who you are, and then realizing that and staying there, then you can make your mind everything else that you are having object, any relatives you're saying, a relationship and all that, that becomes not consuming, all consuming, but you can see it as a screen, a kind of playing in front of you, and that's where you can be detached to some things, and then you can understand they're transient. But what you are in the real self, you will discover that you are that permanent thing that goes on after so much of lives and all that too. But you don't have to have a feeling about it, but you can just see that innate sense of yourself, that aham vritti, they call it in Sanskrit, the sense of myself that was there when I was a child, when I was growing up. And I may have so many attributes. I may have knowledge about the world, the things in the world, the sciences in the world, all those things, fine. But they are all my attributes. They are not me. I think the mistake we make is that all these attributes that we think we are building up there, but they are all there to enhance our life in a way. But then real enhancement comes to human beings when they turn their intelligence inward and see what is happening. That is the self knowledge we're talking about. Once you have that, then you learn to see what is permanent, what is not, what is real, what is not real. Once you have the discriminating nature, then you will develop more like a detachment to things that are not really you. That is the self inquiry I'm talking about. That has to be done with sincerity. It's a first hand experience. You cannot use somebody else's experience. You have to do yourself. Then you will find out for yourself what is going on within you, in terms of, are you clinging to some things like that are not really permanent, but then the things, the houses, the cars, and all those things. So the people who did the inward work are developed this very quickly, and then that's why inward turning down the volume of the external life, making it simpler, only take what you need, and then really making your mind and body still enough to go inward and find out yourself through meditation. But then what happens is, this charter, this outward activity that is going down, you will not have the need for regularly meditating. But in meditation, what happens is, whatever is buried in you comes out. So once you exhaust all that, then at the end of it, you will end up in that meditative awareness, which is there all the time. So you don't have to subject yourself to all this agitated thought, restless thought, or dull thought, and all. So that is what I call about meditative awareness. That means you are in awareness rather than you are in a lot of thoughts going by themselves or taking you wherever they want to. Make sense, Kanan?
Makes sense, and still, I think for me,
Yeah.
I'm not a person who has been
Yeah. Nobody said this.
practicing this, but it's sometimes you have to jump to catch what you're saying.
I know.
Sometimes it makes sense because we do feel that why am I getting agitated? Why am I getting
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
But naturally, I think one has attachment, one has
Yeah.
detachment, one has worries, and sometimes you start wondering, why should I worry?
Yeah.
What is going to happen is going to happen. But at the same time, you start worrying. We want this to happen in a particular
That
way.
is the question we're asking. That kind of feeling, hurt, and thoughts. Why do we assume that is natural? Maybe the self that we are talking about, which is underneath all this structure of thought, is what we really are. And we don't realize that. That means we're kind of caught up in the body mind structure. So they become the focus of, bother and all that. So this was kind of went into explored in the form of self knowledge way back. That's why they had a very simple outward life but very joyful inner life, peaceful inner life. And also they were able to accept everybody as themselves because they could see that they are all in that same conscious being. That's not like a theory you can just understand, but it has to be investigated and find out first person experience. Okay, that is where the difficulty is. Suppose suppose I'm talking about a genome. I have some objectivity, some kind of understanding, some kind of things I can see. I can see how the genome is made, or when it is written, what is going on, what are the new things we are doing, and all that. But then this inner self we're talking about is not out there. It is the real subject of ours. That's why I cannot make like you are absolutely right, because you have all these thoughts coming up, they take over you, and then they kind of give you trouble and all that. So you have to understand desire, you have to understand dispassion, you have to understand delusion, all those things are there. But then there are people who are able to first go beyond the thought and establish themselves within that um, consciousness, and then they were able to withstand tremendous amount of suffering, and they have solutions to the suffering too. So that's why they call it atyatika dukkha nivrutti. There's a Sanskrit word for saying you kind of transcend, not that you overcome or not that you conquer suffering, but you understand, and your understand transcends the suffering. Okay, So you have a different perspective completely. It's not mental or intellectual. It's like intuitive that you can understand. For example, somebody dies, and then what people go through the grief is because of the developed attachments and longing, bonding, and all that. So that kind of thing will become more clear to you, and then the acceptance of the inevitability. It may take some time for some people. It may take no time for other people. But the people who are really awakened to these essential truths, then they will be able to take it much easier. I didn't say this is like a just like that. I'm just indicating there is a culmination of experience in human life that is the ultimate. This is called kaivalya. There's only one experience with everything and everybody around. That is the highest thing that won't happen unless you kind of go through your own condition that has happened and was able to see it for yourself and then see through it why it is not really what it appears to be. So if you don't know who you are to begin with, then you realize that and then come out of that. Actually, you have a better awareness, better intellect, a better handling of the emotions and thought and all that. But I didn't want to put that kind of reward system. But what I'm saying is, some people went into that. They found out these states and they live those states, and they have this loving kindness for everybody because they have experienced the one day. So anyway, have you heard any of my couple of previous lectures about habits of happiness or indices of happiness?
In parts, I've been hearing. I've not actually gone through all your
Yeah,
replays.
yeah. No, no,
Every time
last
I
2 days.
think I should do it,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Last two
for
days
some
we
reason,
did them, so I thought I'll refresh them again. Because
sure, sure, I'll do it.
yeah, because there are 8 habits of for happiness we talked about, and then we talked about several indices of how do you know that you're happier inside. You feel it, but then there are certain things that can help you, to go deeper into that. You see, that's what I was saying. How your emotional intelligence is, how your awareness of everything that's going on. So many things like that I pointed out yesterday. But before that, I talked about some of the habits you can cultivate and really improve your awareness and thereby your happiness too. We started from physical and what are the good doctors of the physical, and we talked about how you can be satisfied with what you have, and then really be thankful for that. So like that, there were 8 principles I talked, and day before yesterday, I think we did that. So if you want to take a look at it, it's a big talk, 1.5 hours talk, but it's up to you, your patience, whatever you want. Yeah,
On the same, then I have to go through the old replays, right?
yeah, yeah. This
Okay,
one, this same room, this room has the replay sound. Be
okay,
a
I'll do that.
be a pal house. There's a new houses, right? They found these new houses. So okay. So
I'll do that.
yeah, that's a very
Couple of days.
practical, probably for people and all that. With this um, Kaivalya I'm talking about is something probably esoteric to a lot of people, but the people who are inclined for exploring their own inner nature, and they are interested in the self knowledge, and they want to experience that real self of themselves, then that will be something we could explore. But otherwise it becomes like a what you said is true. It looks like, oh, I have all these attachments, I have all these fears and all that, but I can't really, because they are so dominating the inner self of ours. We think that those are the only realities. But what I am saying is they are as real as you can see, but then according to the culture, according to the exploration of inner self, according to how you do first-hand experience of those things, that varies among people, right? But only very few people really stay with the course, and at the end of it, they have that enormous tragedies and sufferings come their way, they can still face them, handle them, and understand them better. In other words, they don't suffer like everybody else do. And there's something else. After you have transcended that suffering that comes in, what happens is you kind of um, experience this uh, bliss that is not familiar to you before. So it's not just being pleasant or just being happy, just being not that. They call this ananda, a state of blissfulness that is there. Okay. So that's why I brought that up if anybody is interested. Usually people are interested in these things, so that's why we kind of do that. Um, okay, let's bring our friend he wants to come up. Let's invite him. I'm happy he wants to come up. I hope why it is. I'm trying to invite him. It's not accepting. Ah, there he is. Hi, Amy. How are you?
I'm fine, Dr. Ro. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for coming up. Let's talk. Tell me.
Yeah, it's very, very, very interesting topic, and I was really attentively was listening to what you've been talking about because that's actually something that actually aligns with my worldview.
Yeah.
Self-awareness and understanding yourself.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I think the way you put it, you just put it really perfectly and and explained it in a very clear way because that's my, like I said, that's the way I view the world now that I understood the value of self-awareness because it's only through self-awareness that I really became the person I am today. I'm still, in the journey, of course, we call all life.
Yeah.
But at least when you understand yourself and your programming and, you become aware of a lot of things and then you'll be able to do something about yourself, which actually eliminates suffering, like you said. I think some people say, for example, ignorance is bliss. I disagree with that. I think knowledge is power, and I think self-knowledge is one of the most powerful tool any human being can actually have in their on their side. So yeah, thanks. I wanted to share that.
Yeah, I mean, the worldview, they said that's really true. See, one of the things about the self knowledge is kind of comes up as you go deeper inside, and then you'll be able to touch that and you'll be able to understand everything much better. Not just your personality, your own life, and all that, that will be there, but then also much, much clearer about so many things. At least your reactions to so many things will be going down. In that way, also, your suffering will be much less. For example, when I was becoming a young doctor in the 80s or so, I was reacting to everything that was happening around me with the patients, with other things and all that, right? So hospital was unjust in so many ways, and then patients were neglected, all that. So it was kind of gut reaction, like feeling sorry for the patients at the same time. But now the reaction's intensity has gone down, but I have not stopped responding to the injustice or the problems that I see. Now I am much more balanced about dealing with them, with the administration and everybody, so they listen. Before they were put off by our angry outbursts and all that, right? So even the small things like that have improved a lot. Another thing is, you don't engage into too much of arguments, maybe once in a while, but then you realize immediately and say, why did I become into that, and then withdraw. That is another thing, because you begin to see the other person also has the same being as us. So in essence, we are the same. We are one. Then how can you get angry with anybody like that? Because maybe they have a different view. That's fine. They can have, because everybody has their own journey, right? They will take the journey according to their own way of looking at things, the way they were trained, the way they were introduced, and all. Or they were introduced to some religious things and some national things, political. All those things will be there. So they have to get out of those bondages by themselves. It's not like we are here to judge them or are to tell them that you have to do this. Not that at all. Just pointing out that you don't have to sit down and suffer on anything. There are ways to understand it. There are ways to transcend it. So the self-knowledge is a lovely story there too. I don't know, you guys heard about this. It's called churning of the sea. you know there was a age-old story. This is a mythical story. Once upon a time, there were people who are called like demons, and also the not demons, right? All the people who are really divine, like. So they were having war, and then the demons beat these divine people for a long time. So they went to the creative creation maker, and tell him what is happening. Then he says, "Okay, you got to churn this sea, and out of the chi, you will find this nectar of immortal bliss. Immortal thing that will make you immortal. So if you drink that, then you will be able to live forever, and then they will not be able to do anything for it." So that's like a metaphor. But then what happens is the sea is too big, and they have nothing to churn it about. And so they go and they find a big mountain, and then they want to churn the sea with that mountain, but they need a big rope. So they get a big serpent, and they use this as a rope. And then both the demons and also the divine people, they say, we both have to work on this, and then we'll split whatever comes up. So they agree, and then they do it. So the metaphor is, the sea is like our mind, and the energy lies at the bottom of the spine, and that mountain they are churning, they are using to churn, is like the our spine. And the energy that is dormant in the base of the spine, mythical kundalini energy, right? Vital energy. They want to release that. And so they are using that serpent, right? And then when they are churning it on the mind, as you can say, suppose you sit down and you want to keep your spine erect, and you want to close your eyes, and you want to allow everything that is there within you, thoughts and emotions and beliefs or whatever, right? They come up, and those are the ones, they come up one by one. But at the end of it, you will have this energy touching your real self beyond the thought, that will give you a lot of energy, sparkling, and all that. Basically, awareness of everything. And that is the self knowledge they talked about. Okay. And once you have the self knowledge, and you will be knowing that sparkling energy which is awakening us, which is giving us the thoughts and everything, that is permanent. That's not going to go anywhere. That will come and animate the body and mind. And when it goes away, we don't have any life in the body and mind, that kind of thing. So understanding that, understanding the role of sitting down and going inward, and that is actually going into the meditation. And during the meditation,
okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, can I ask you a question, Dr. Bro?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you talked about how you felt, when you were a doctor at the beginning of your career, how you feeling, being reactive or responsive to your surroundings, and how you became aware of the, what's it called, injustices, and how you want to fix the world, basically. How did you deal with that? Because I'm actually like that. To be honest
Yeah.
with you, I'm highly intuitive, highly empathic as well,
Yeah.
and I tend to. I don't want to change people because I'm aware of
Yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah.
everyone has their own
Yeah.
journey in life. That I understood,
Yeah.
but it's still, the injustices around me. No
Yeah.
matter how much I say to myself, leave it to the creator, leave it to the universe, leave it
Yeah.
to God. He will do whatever. Yeah. So it's still, I find myself going back with that. So my education about this, I haven't read a lot of books about it, but it's just, the boundaries about psychology, and that was really big enough for me to get into that.
Yeah, that's
But
a
how did you? Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah,
a
go on.
good question. Let me tell you about that. See, when I was growing up, I was influenced by Gandhism, right? That non-violence and pursuing the truth, and then not really seeing the divisions like a racist in a big way in India about the caste system, low caste, high caste. That was there, right? So I understood all of that with one thing. See, what he said was, see, we are all in one family. That is, the all living beings are in one family. Like that, British is also my brothers. But I want to raise up in righteous indignation about the atrocities they are doing to the countrymen of India at that time. So he would not allow the hatred and all that to enter to him to achieve something good in the society. But he would rise against that and then say, "This is not right. We have to change it." Not in a violent way, not in a mind that is violent. But more like a loving kindness, like and that kind of thing, and then accepting these people. Remember Christ, what he said: they know not what they do. Forgive them, Father, but they know not what they do. See, that is the one he also was talking about. So that was one thing that really opened my eyes in a way, and then my the passion, the anger, and all that disappeared after that. Other thing is, there are certain physical and routine things that we can do, which I teach now in my wellness club, which I do in the morning, right, in the evening too. Or some people come on their individual interviews and all that. What I make them do is understand, when you wake up and you are about to face the world, there are a lot of things out there, but you don't want to stuff all the stuff into you, the news, the gossip, and all those things, right? Even don't allowing your mind activated by the agenda, by the things you want to do now. What you want to do is that transition from the darkness to the light in the morning is an hour where your nervous system is vulnerable. So whatever you put in will last for a few hours there. So getting up in the morning, I don't want you to open all the devices and everything. Don't overload information with you. And then take some time to really settle down in the balanced presence that you have within you. Okay, don't let the thought take over and run you wherever it is. Rather, be in that awareness of the presence of what is going on here and now. Am I seeing it outside the window? What is the nature? Right? Just don't make any comment, just look at it and then be with it, right? And then developing the relationship with the nature is a very wonderful thing. There are mechanisms of how they work. I explain to people. It's called forest bathing and all that. But basically, suppose you are in the bedroom, get up and look at them, and don't let your thinking take over and activate and go into all the things that it wants. Then you will not have difficulty coming to the present of all the activities. So what I teach is, establish yourself in that inner self, inner silence, inner awareness, and carry that like a perfume through your day, through all your activities. Then what happens is, also, this is how it is done. Take deep breaths, get your mind anchored to the tip of the nose line. That means you allowed the mind to be here and now, and anchor that. I spend like an hour or so before I open any devices and all that. So you have to see how much you are really, you know, addicted or tolerated to that. Okay. And then what you do is take deep breaths and do your body need the body, exercise the body. You know, whatever exercise is okay. I prefer yoga because I know a lot about that. But I also have a treadmill. I also have some weights. If I want, I can do them too. But I teach my patients different varieties of kneading the body, right? And then you have done this pranayama, which is the breathing exercises, and then sitting down and calming the mind deliberately. If you are doing this consistently, then you are living your life, but you are not getting subjected to the modern information overload, continuous feeding of information, which we don't need because we want to take information, use it for the life tasks. So what I became is non-reactive but responsive to my responsibilities. So I don't have these emotional reactions or passionate things, and thereby all these stress hormones are secreted. So that goes down. Then what happens is your sympathetic overload, which happens with each step in the society, in the office. There's so many, right, deadlines or arguments. There's so many things happen. That all small amount of all that increases your sympathetic overload, which is the fight or flight syndrome, which is not really needed because you don't have any real frights and or real dangers, you know. So you are activating a system of nervous system that is not really needed. On the other hand, you need antidote because unconsciously you're allowing this fear, this dangers, all this come up, and then you activate the sympathetic nervous system. Some people argue like, oh, we have to have stress to do. No, if you don't have any of these kind of reactions, you can be very concentrate on the excellence of whatever you're doing, and you have the vital energy to do the stuff, to respond to stuff that is in front of you. So I go and the hospital sometimes three, four emergencies waiting happening. Say when we take on the duty, for example, ICU, serious case we have to do, and one of them may go into code and all, we have to spring into action right away. But if you panic, if you react fearfully or angrily, then you lose that energy that you have. So what I do is, okay, all right, what is happening, what is going on, what is that we can do, you know, and we start from there and go there, mainly because I trained my parasympathetic nervous system by deep breathing and being in the present in the morning. I'm not allowing the chance to do that from darkness to light when the nervous system just awoke and coming in. You know, there are so many other things too. There are ingrained thoughts, there are tendencies, and all those. You have to understand the structure of thought and the network of thought and all. So, understanding that and doing this physical to breathing to mental control of activities, you will develop that your own inner self. This is the called sattva, that is the energy that is not agitated and not dull, but in between. So once you cultivate that energy, this is actually never ending energy because you are not depleting it. Make sense?
Totally makes sense. Yeah. And actually, you know, the whole steps that you mentioned, um, you know, they're definitely going to be effective. And also the being overloaded by all these cues of modern life, you know what I mean? It's definitely is going to be. But also one thing that's very interesting that you mentioned Gandhi and how he, you know, you learn something from. I think I need to read his books because I like the idea of nonviolent protest and, you know, being calm and not giving the enemy the enemy or the upper hand, and you know, doing your service without being reactive. That's a very great idea. So I thank you very much for all this information that you gave me. I'm definitely actually I'm following you, but definitely I'll be coming to your rooms quite often. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Abhi. That's very nice questions. That's why I just come and share these things. And you're the first person asking me how I handle these things. So and, I just told you what happened. Other thing is with the ancients way back, not present India, present China. I'm not talking about this. They forgot about that. But what I'm talking about is the original ancient people. They never identified themselves as somebody belonging to something, and they were engracing everybody as themselves. And that made a lot of difference for their perspective that they called ekatvam, oneness. Once you understand the oneness, and once you are really in that oneness, then there are no others to really act against in the sense. But then if they are ignorant, like Jesus Christ, what did he say? Forgive them, my Father, for they know not what they are doing. So people are ignorant in this way and they are doing those stuff. Okay. So once you understand that, you can tell them what you don't really think this is right, and then you have to change it. But at the same time, you don't make the room for anger or hatred against them. That itself is good for us, because if we get angry, the other person who we're angry about doesn't get affected by it. Only we get affected by the stress hormones. That also I know as a physician. That's why I'm training residents, students for decades, right? So I always told them, if you are a doctor, if you are coming in, first of all, you got to be healing yourself within. You don't do anything that can harm yourself, your body, mental, psychological, or spiritual health. Once you understand that, then doctor, heal yourself. That's what you used to say. And then even now I see a lot of my colleagues, a lot of people that teach me for the burnout coaching that I do. They don't employ that. They are very good at their subject matter. They are learned a lot, because that's why they think that has given them license to behave whatever they want. So to come back to be the humane level, to come back to that, accepting everybody is kind of very difficult for them. But once they understand, once they really open their eyes, they make a rapid progress, because they have the service attitude within them. But then they're corrupted by the things that can get from the medical practice, and then they allow these things to grow within that. So once they see and then employ that radical emptying of the mind, which I teach, that really helps them a lot. But many people get tangled with the accumulations of the contents of consciousness, and that they don't know how the route they can go. So that's why when I sleep completely empty minded, clean slate. This is a joke we used to have with my friends. Even now, I ask them all the time, is your slate clean, right, in the morning? Anyway, that is something we picked up from the monks and all those people. What they do is they kind of empty everything from their mind and sleep on that emptiness. This can be done. It's a practice. But in the morning when you wake up, you are really, so I kind of modified them. I tell them, in the night time, what you do is just go through all the reactions that you had during the day. Don't have to blame yourself. I have these reactions. Suppose you're angry, suppose you're hateful, or suppose you're jealous, whatever, right? And then just go through all your encounters with people. Like, I have patients, I have families, I have insurance agents calling, or nurses, so many people who interact with, consultants, doctors, and all that. Then what my interaction was, if they suppose they insult me, suppose they kind of belittle me, whatever, right? Write those reactions, whatever you actually felt within, and don't go hiding them. But suppose that is very trivial, where that man is ignorant and he was behaving like that. Why do you have to live with it? So whatever you think it is trivial, it is not worthy to keep in mind, dump them right away. And suppose you have some important things, like your relationship. Suppose you have something you want to do with a family, or some things you have to take care of, or your profession, all those meaningful things that you have, write them down and again forget them for the night. That is my formula. So keeping the slate clean. So in the morning when I wake up, again we are establishing ourselves in the presence and all that. That emphasize, and then you can pick up the note or whatever device you put these reminders on, and then you can pursue them. So there is a digital detoxification that I teach that also involves in all this.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. Especially the clearing your mind.
Yeah.
It's something that I think many it brings peace to the person and health, obviously,
Yeah.
because you're going to reduce the stress hormones. So
Very much, very much. By the way, I mean, that is the biggest thing about self-realization, realizing that I'm not this body, mind, I am this energy or consciousness or awareness, whatever you call it. That is the one which animates my body and mind. Once I establish in that, then movement of thought is not there. Mind is not really negative in the sense, and also your body is healthier too. That's why self-realized people, or even the people who are on that path, they are very healthy. They live longer, they live well, and they live in joy and bliss. So that is the fact with a lot of these people. That's why they don't get activated so many little things, But other people may not notice it. They may want to go to therapists, they want to tell something and all that. But it is about you, about your first-hand experience that you have to do, you know.
No, no, absolutely. And I'm actually one of the people in my journey.
Yeah.
Maybe if you read my bio, I mean, the first stage is self awareness, obviously.
Yeah.
And trying to be myself, trying to be a healthy person first.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna get deeper and deeper. I have a very curious mind, and I'm a very teachable person. I'm open to any ideas that make sense to me. And when I read, the reason I'm in this room as well is because, first of all, I followed you a few months back because I liked your topics, and but I didn't have a chance to join your room. But the title of the room that attracted me because that's, like I said at the beginning, it's the things that this is the self-realization. This is where I want to go. This is my life journey. You be yourself. Culmination of experience in human life. This is my ultimate goal: is to reach to the, without being perfect. Of course, no one is going to be perfect, but at least to be, in that direction, to grow with other people, trying to be the best version of yourself. Basically, that's my goal.
Couple of things I will tell you, Amy, about this. I read, not read, I kind of came to know through the verbal talks of these monks, that ancients said the purpose of human life is to turn inward and realize who we are. Because eating and breeding and doing all the animals do too, but they don't have this intelligence to be able to turn inward and then find about this special thing, right? That is there. So that really made a lot of sense to me as you go on that, right? And the other thing was, I was a physician. I was doing these talks once in a while, listening to them and all that, 80s, I think. Then there was a presentation. There's a yogic folklore. There are written things about stories about these yogis, And these people are extraordinarily talented in their fields and all that, right? But they said they found the balance and happiness within themselves first, and then they went about serving the world, right? So they were not looking for things like I was trained at the time to look for things outside that will make me happy, relationships or accumulation of things or studies or degrees, whatever, right? And then Then I found out, I went and investigated it, and I found out uh, actually that's what they are doing. They're turning inward and finding themselves. And then, having found that, they don't have any desire to get something. They're already contented, happy, settled down in that balance itself. And that's why they went out and helped the world. There was a saying to Atma Mokshardham, that means first realize yourself, Jagat Hitaya, then go and work for the welfare of the world. And they did that. Okay. The other thing is, they never wanted their name to be written down on the temples they built or the works they did and all that. Right? That was a fact because they don't have a sense of agency, right? So they were kind of uh, no sense of agency, like I'm doing it, I am like a tool in the divine, making me do this service and all that. And the world is also looked at as a reflection of the divine, and that's why you want to serve the world, and all your work is a service, not to get something out of it. So that is where the modern and the ancients differ was, modern introduced this ego factor and also this profits. If you look at it, that's how we get corrupted. So understanding what is the ego and transcending that, and then realizing this inner self, and then you have these qualities of spiritual, they call them major awareness, tremendous intellect, good memory, exceptional memory, and also they don't tire out that easily too. So many qualities are there that will come out too. So turn inward, find yourself, and then you are already found the tool for your happiness, cause for your happiness.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. About it's only now, to be honest with you, I'm beginning to understand what you just talked about, and it's quite um, powerful for me to actually you just been saying things that I've been thinking about recently, and I was like, wow, it's I don't think it's a coincidence. I think it's a synchronicity, or whatever you call that.
Exactly. It's not information. I mean, this is not information. This is the truth you already know. See, the truth you already know, you have come to it by yourself. This is not information. This is about the truth. You have to find out and see what it is there. And you are doing that in a way in your, see, what it is when you really make the cognitive mind quiet, your you will act as a conduit to the universal intelligence come through you.
Right, and you know what you said. Everything is inside you. Yeah, that's true. But also many. Well, I'm one of those people who actually didn't even know this concept exists. If you explain to me, yeah, then I'll get it. But it's very hard to. I'll speak about myself. Is to actually figure it out naturally. Maybe if you're exposed to it, yes, you understand that. But without at least knowing the concept, because everybody I know, and in my throughout my life, everything, when they talk about happiness, they talk about possessing things, materials, engaging in activities, that's the norm. When in fact everything is inside you, meaning that no, it's not where you think happiness actually resides. Happiness resides in the places that many people don't understand. And the people, the yogis you talked about, are I would say, the few lucky ones who understood this, because not everybody understand these concepts, and actually not only understanding them, it's just implementing them too.
There's a lot of activity about this, but one one sentence you want to remember is, this is subjective, first-hand investigation you do as a research project upon yourself. That means you cannot use the tool of outgoing intellect, outgoing senses, but you can use inward feeling of intuition, awareness. Thinking about it doesn't solve any of this, but feeling about it and going and finding the subjective self, that is not to be described. That is something to be experienced.
Right, right, and I don't know. You must know Brahmacharya, of course.
Yeah.
I was with a well. I discovered a group of people on the internet who was actually practicing, not necessarily religious or in Hinduism or anything.
Yeah.
It's just because they like the idea, and then what happens surprisingly for them, and actually for me too, is that I became happier,
Yeah.
and I became more creative. I became more aware of things that I wasn't aware of, right?
Yeah.
And that was the first time I was exposed to these ideas. I said, okay, but that didn't mean that I implemented the idea 100%. I didn't, unfortunately.
No,
And
again, the celibacy you are talking about, the brahmacharya. Actually, the meaning of brahmacharya is you are close to the Brahman, which is the vast conscious being that is there within which we are all there, that manifests us, and then we go back, that kind of thing, right? But the thing is, even if you come to a modern medicine perspective, the sexual energy that is expressed in the modern times, thinking that is the end of it, can be very depleting to people, perversions and all those things, right? But then when you understand and really transmute that sexual libido towards higher awareness, that becomes much easier. Otherwise, you get caught in the expression of the sexual energy and the pleasure and all those things that will really cause problems. A lot of people cannot even get out of that. They feel like they are missing out on something if they are not expressing themselves sexually. But so understanding all that energy is itself is a big energy. But basically, transmutation of libido towards higher knowledge is there in yoga, and that's
and the surprising thing for me personally, and this is regarding the subjective experience that you talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Now, because I wanted this very subjective experience, I said try it, and the thing that happened, Dr. Rowan and the people who's listening, is that absolutely astounding. I wrote 3 creative short stories.
Yeah.
I've never wrote them.
Yeah.
Right? And I became very productive at work. I was very quickly witted. I was having situations in my life. For example, let's say I'm on the street, right? And I bump into somebody. Somebody will ask me directions. People come normal. Circumstances that never happened to me before begin happening to me.
Yeah.
And I said, wow, this is no coincidence. And obviously, when I can again diverted from that and then came back to it again, it's like bigger things happened to me. For example, complex ideas that I used to listen to before became suddenly very clear to me. So I was able to put them in framework. So anyway, the creativity, and it was a different world.
Yeah.
To sum it up.
Yeah, that's what it is. The transmutation of energy happens, and also there is something about this inner happiness bliss I talked about that is much superior than the animal lust and all those things, which is not a crime or anything. The human beings having this to procreate and all that, but to make it they all say you can have sex in the body, but not in the mind. You see, most of the people grow this thing by titillating mental thoughts and all that. But natural body having the urge to express and all those are okay. But then that is multiplied by this half naked ladies with all the books and movies and all that. That is the one that is damaging the mind, so that it loses the vital energy and it's kind of any pleasure. If you do the same pleasure for a long time, it won't be pleasure anymore. These are all psychological things, a lot of things connected with the sexuality and all that. So what it is a simple thing is, once you know the enormity of self-realization, and once you know what it is and then experience it, these simple desires all pop. Actually, when you do yoga and all that, initially people have better drive, better energy and all that, right? But then as they understood the higher principles of yoga, they actually lose some of the desire naturally. It's not like suppressing or anything. I think my favorite J. Krishnamurti said one time to one person, see, when you have this sexual drive coming to you or desire coming to you, don't suppress it or don't yield to it. Just allow it to happen. And that's a very important thing, because the libido is also connected with your health, your vital energy. But how you transmute that energy, that's where brahmacharya comes. It's not like a simple thing like, oh, you just be celibate, don't think. Then all these priests and everybody doing all these things, that is there. But it's about understanding that energy properly.
Yeah, absolutely. And just finally, before I leave, I just want to say about how the sexual um, experience, especially for men, are very harming for the mind. It's something that, almost every man, well, I don't want to generalize, but most men are really struggling with in the Western countries. And no one is talking about the damage it does to the brain.
Yeah.
And only through my subjective experience that I understood this.
Yeah.
So no one taught me. I didn't read it from a book. No one told me when I was growing up, you know what, if you have, if you be reckless with your sexual world, you'll be affected mentally. No one told me that. It's just, and I feel sorry for many men who are not exposed to this experience.
Amy, if you look at the ancient education system, they have what's called Gurukul, where they are sent to the teacher and they lived with the teacher there for 15 years or so. And the teacher adopted them as their own children, right? And then only the kids, male in one class and then female in one class, like that, they separated. And then any student is expected to have a brahmacharya. Okay, this is not like a they are not allowed to be like that, and they told them how trivial and momentary sexual pleasure is. Not this glorification of the sexual pleasure is there, because they said indriya nigraha, that means sensory control has to be there to learn anything, as a student. When we grow up, it was like that in India. We don't know the deep.
What's the called? What's it called? What's the name of it?
What? The Indriya Nigraha, that is sensory control.
Oh no, you said at the beginning it's like a practice or teaching or
Gurukul, that is the system.
Okay. Is there any? Can you spell it, or is there anything I can find? Like,
yeah, the spelling is simple. Guru, Guru, Kul.
Geru.
No, Guru, Guru.
Okay. Oh, the guru. I see.
And then
okay.
Kul, that means the establishment of the school and everything. But it is done in his own house. He and his wife, both of them, adopted them as their own children, and they raised them and taught them not just archery, all those technical things they have to learn, but also they kind of told them about what is life, what is character, what all those things out there. But they're not like a punitive thing, but more like a awakening them to the facts of life.
Awareness, yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, I've seen it, Guru Kula, and then it goes with the Shishya.
Shishya is the student.
Thank you.
Yeah, Shishya is the student. But I use this Gurukul to train teenagers and everybody, but also I am very much involved in the education system. So Gurukul focused on comprehensive upbringing of a student, allowing him to flower. Okay, not like making him a cog in the wheel, but like making him ready for the university, and not just the not ready for the universe, not just the university. Big topic, the education. I'm very involved in that anyway. So
that's the this is what I think the Western society needs, this kind of exposure to that, because it's only now they are beginning to understand the effect of pornography on
there are a lot of
the
people,
mind of young people.
listen to these things, Amy, but I don't bring it like a Indian system or anything, because I'm like a world citizen, right? But I know some India I will bring, but I also know some things from the Switzerland, some things from the England, and the schools are there, and I follow them and I participate in the discussion. And also, Krishnamurti, J. Krishnamurti, I'm talking about, he wrote a beautiful book called Education and the Significance of Life. And then I listened to his take on education. What no, he asked a fundamental question: what are we educating for any student? Okay, this is all commercial. This is all making people to work for some factory and all that. That's not a cog in the wheel, right? They want to make it. But what we want to say is, what are the tendencies of the kid to be creative in their life, and what really makes them really enjoy their life. We kind of allow them to realize that, and give 10 observe all the tendencies and give. That's what I did with my son. I saw he is very musically oriented, so we made him a musician in that way, because we encouraged, we kind of helped him do everything. And now he's independent. He's very happy with his profession. He loves to teach young kids. He's in a high school band teacher, and then he loves the trumpet playing, but also this. So we didn't make him go through being a doctor, take my clinic, none of that. This is his life. We brought them here not because they are our children, but they're children. So every child has the every human being for that matter, they have their own right to go their own creative way. They don't have to mix with some wheel and then become a cog. Anyway, yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so Dr. Ru,
Yeah.
I'll have to go. Thank you very much
Yeah.
again, and hopefully we meet some other time. Thank you for your
Yeah, I do
information.
this every day in the evening 6 o'clock. You can come anytime. Okay. Yeah.
No problem. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Bye bye. Okay, Ivy. I'll see you tomorrow though, if you want to come. Okay. So it's already 7:30 now, almost.